It's nonsense. Good morning. Hi, I'm Stacy. This is Walking in My Shoes, and we are loving my veteran this morning. I really don't like the way this page is laid out, but we'll get used to it now that we're back to Facebook. Yay! Makes me excited. So, um, lots going on today. Just want to kind of bring everybody up to speed. Today is Tuesday at 11 a.m. Today, we're going to start our new video series. It's going to be an every Tuesday at 11 a.m. It will not be live. It'll be a recorded message. But we're going to talk about faith and how faith has gotten a lot of us through this. So there'll be a new series. Nikki and I will be working on it. And it's You Are Worthy, You Are Loved. And we need people just to know that we are worthy and loved. So that will start today. And will be every Tuesday. Wednesday, of course, we have coffee conversation collaboration with our friends at Behind the Service Podcast. We also have Stephanie, Wellness Wednesday check-in. Thursday, our Zoom, Let's Talk. Good morning, Pam. I'm so excited to be back on Facebook. I like YouTube, and we'll share these to YouTube, but Facebook is so much easier. So we've got that going on. Got to get my coffee in this hour of the morning. And I just want everybody to have just such a great day going forward. I hope your Motivational Monday helped get you motivated and kind of kick-started you for the week. Y'all know I've been here with my mom. Beautiful place. Love the lake. Tomorrow after this is over, we're going back to Georgia. Yay. I love my mom, and she is doing so well that we're going to head back to Georgia. So kind of get back in my own environment, my own bed. This has been great, and I really love my mom and spending time with her. So today we're going to kind of talk about things. I put this question out: what are one of the things that you wish you would have known? Forever ago, somebody said, "Stacey, you really need to write a book. You really need to write a book." And I've written pieces of what I want in a book, and so I go forward and I'm looking at this and I'm like, "Write a book, write a book, write a book." Oh well, this has got to be spectacular. That's great. I don't even know how to put the chapters in order, okay? Because nothing involving PTSD has to do with chapters. Nothing involving PTSD goes in a certain order. There is nothing about it. There's nothing about it that falls into this game plan order. And so you just kind of look at it and say, what are the things I wish I knew when I started? What are the things I wish I knew early on in my journey? What are the things I wish I knew way early on to get through this? And it's hard because there's nothing that follows a particular order. So when you're looking at PTSD, and of course, we can all Google it. We can, good morning, Sunny D. We can all Google it, and we can all look at the things. Well, they do this, and they have triggers, and they have nightmares, and they have night sweats, and they have violent stuff. Um, yeah, you do get betrayed a lot sometimes by other people, um, but they have this. They kind of have this list. There's explosions, there's anger, there's shutting down, there's all these things, right, that happen. But the reality is that's kind of like a checklist. That's not necessarily what we live with. That is not necessarily what we live with. And so I think that when we go through this part, the one thing that I wish I knew early on was about being stuck. And that's so hard to explain, but I think it's something we have to talk about is this being stuck. And what that is that things can be going great, and you can be having a great day, a great moment, a great everything going on, and then some little thing flashes in their head. Little thing, sometimes it's very little, flashes in their head that gets them to remember something or feel something, and they kind of freeze in that moment of time, and they get stuck there, and they get stuck feeling that. And we had that happen with the fireworks. It happened with the fireworks that we were stuck. Carl was stuck, and he was opening and closing a drawer looking for a bowl. And he was literally stuck in his head. Good morning, Michelle. He was literally stuck in his head, opening and closing his drawer looking for a bowl. And when I tried to give him a bowl, it was like, I don't want your bowl. I want to fix myself. And so they get in this little stuck mode. And sometimes they come out of it quickly, and sometimes they're out of it forever. They're in it for what seems like forever. And it happened again yesterday. I took my mom in to go get PT, and so there's a place that we eat when we come here regularly, and it's weird because, like, this week it's been closed, the week after 4th of July. Good morning, Nikia. It's been closed after 4th of July week. And so when we went in yesterday, I was like, yes, 4th of July week's over. I wanted some fried chicken from Rouse. They have a great barbecue, but I really wanted their fried chicken. And so we were kind of on this mode. And when we get there, Rouse is closed. So I called Carl and I said, we're talking about what's going on. And I said, hey, Rouse is closed, so we're not going to get any chicken. But it's not a big deal. We'll get some chicken on our way home. Okay, now I'm thinking in my communication mindset that we're going to get chicken, him and I, on our way home Wednesday. Right? That's what my brain is thinking. Well, when I get back, he's like, where's the chicken? I'm like, baby, they're closed. I told you that. I told you they were closed. And he's like, but you said you were going to stop and get chicken on your way home. I said, on our way home. And literally, he was so caught up in this chicken that he just couldn't get past that. It was like this stumbling block that came before us in this getting stuck mode. And when that happens, your communication sucks because they are so focused on what they're stuck on that you can't talk around that. So I had to run up the road, run Mom's car up to the guy to get it, looked at it, whatever. And I went down the road and got him some chicken wings because there's not a lot around here, but I went and got him some chicken wings, brought him back. Now it was fine. But it literally took me going to get chicken wings. And even when I re-explained it to him when I got back about when I said on our way home, I meant you and I on our way back to Georgia because they are closed today. Like what, they were miraculously, this is my brain thinking, right? They were miraculously going to open between the time I talked to you and the big sign says closed on Monday. Was I going to hang out there for like a day? So you had to reset his brain. And that's like the Kia talks about, that time out. They get stuck. And I wish I would have understood what that means because it didn't fall into the typical PTSD checklist, that list that everybody gets that you can Google. Dr. Google has it and whatever has this little list. It didn't fall under nightmares. It didn't fall under triggers. It didn't fall under explosions. It didn't fall under anger. We were still talking about other stuff. It didn't fall under any of that. But his brain was wrapped around that one thing. He was stuck there. And I wish I would have understood what that meant. Because then when they're stuck in a place, and even on something little, just like I said, about the chicken, about the looking for the bowl, about whatever they get stuck in, then when you're trying to have a conversation about other stuff, Carl says to me a lot, I need to process it. I need to process it. I'm like, what the hell do you need to process, right? I mean, my rational thinking is like, what the hell do you need to process? We've moved on. The chicken place was closed. Can we get on to the next thing? Right? That's my mindset. But for him, he can't move past that till he resolves that. And so anything you say after that just creates more stuff going on in their head and more things they have to process. But if they're stuck there, they can't get past it. And most of you will not understand this. But those of us that grew up in the time of vinyl records, remember you could get that little vinyl record and you could put the little needle on and you could be playing your song. And then there was a little glitch in the vinyl. After a while it got kind of scratched and it would just keep replaying it over and over again. It'd be like, it would play and it would doop and it would go back and it would doop and it would, it would just play that same line over and over and over again. That's what happens when they're stuck. They can't move on to the next thing until they clear it out. It's very strange. And I'll tell you something else. And I didn't. Carl says, "You don't pay attention to me. You don't notice the little things." I notice a lot more than what he thinks. Sometimes I notice, but when he gets stuck like that, yeah, his eyes literally almost go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Mike gets stuck and tells me all the time he just doesn't process things as quickly as I can, and that's right. It is like that, Stephanie. When they do that, they're literally stuck. And it's not that they can't process things as quick as we can. They can. They can most things, everyday things, normal things. But when they are stuck like that, they can't move on. You know, again, it's to talk about how old we are for some of you. Back when we booted up computers, and you could see that little computer would kind of would make this little thing that goes across the screen until it did it. Well, if the computer got hung up, and this is back when we put like disk in to make, because programs didn't just come out of the cloud and they weren't just downloaded on the thing. Like if you wanted to use Windows, you had to put like 6 disk in to get Windows to load, right? And so you'd put it in, and it would just keep doing it and doing it, and would kind of get stuck and caught. And that's what happens with them. They can't move on to the next thing when they're in that stuck space. And nobody told me about stuck. Okay, that Carl kept saying to me, "I'm stuck in my head, I'm stuck in my head, I'm stuck in my head." And I assumed, wrongly, again, because I do a lot of that, I assumed that he was stuck in his head about a date, or about an event, or about something. And it doesn't mean that at all. Sometimes stuck in their head just means whatever they were trying to process, they just can't get it all the way out. And that truly has to do with the frontal cortex. It has to do with the parts of the brain that we didn't think about, that we didn't know about. The good old floppy disk. I can remember having a big old thing of the good old floppy disk. And inevitably, when I wanted to get on Word, I would be missing like disk 2. Okay, so I would be booting it, and I would like miss like boot 2. But that's what happens. And if somebody would have told me that going into this, our relationship would be so much better. Because I've always said to y'all, you cannot communicate with them when they're triggered. You might as well be talking to the wall if you're trying to communicate with them when they're triggered. Same thing happens when they're stuck. And here's the worst of it. When they are stuck, you can't always get them out of that. When they are stuck, you are not the one who can get them out of that. They have to get out of that on their own. They have to get out of that. It's not something you can do. They have to get out of that. And it makes it very hard, because it's just something they have to work through. Like in the case with the chicken. Chicken, y'all. Chicken. I went and got wings, and when I brought them back to him and he started eating the wings, and then it all started to compute. It was like the reset button. And that's kind of where we have to be when they get stuck. And nobody taught me that. Nobody told me that. It wasn't in the manual. It wasn't in the pamphlets. It wasn't in the checkoff thing. And it's not what people stereotypically envision PTSD to be. People envision PTSD to be this very violent, very angry, very hostile environment. And it's not most of the time. We get frustrated, they get frustrated, and so your frustrations can go up, and it can get worse. But most of the time, it's the little nuances that go on that drive us crazy. It's the little lack of communication that drives us crazy. And so it's really important to really absorb. We cannot pull them out. We can't. We can't. We talk about treatments, and we talk about therapies, and we talk about this stuff, and we talk about doing things. I mean, there's certain things that we all need to do in our lives. And, whether it's banking or making sure our registration for our car's done, or um, whatever it may be, making a doctor's appointment, or dealing with some other stuff. Yeah, and he gets stuck and he can't. Although, Michelle, he got unstuck when I called him and told him there was a box at your door. He got unstuck quick. But when we talk about these things like claims and therapies and treatments, and all just day to day life, things that and that we can process like 20 in a day, right? And Carl is always telling me, "You're wound." I'm not wound. I'm one of these people who thrive on 40 things to do. I'm good when I have 40 things to do. And I think for me, when this 40 things to do list, it gets me focused on the next thing and the next thing, so I don't take that chance of getting stuck. But they don't do it that way. They are very focused on one thing, and then if there is a roadblock along the way, along their journey, um, there is kind of a reset button. Don't ask me quite where it is, because I keep trying to find Carl's. But when we go through this journey of stuff, okay, if they hit a roadblock, like if you lay out, and I'll give you an example, because this has happened to so many veterans that I know of personally. So they've had a driver's license in one state and they've moved, and then COVID happened and you couldn't renew the license, or you couldn't go to the new state. And so the licenses didn't get renewed in the old state because they couldn't go there. Um, because they couldn't get mailed to that address because they weren't there. Well, then they've expired. So now they've expired. They've lost birth certificates, whatever, and they can't get a new one without all this stuff. So now you're trying to get this. Well, you think it's simple. Okay, COVID's over. Let me schedule the appointment. Let me go get the driver's license. We'll move on. That isn't how it works. You walk in with the expired driver's license from the other state, and they're like, nope, sorry, it's expired, we can't use it. But you just open back up. Sorry, doesn't matter, you can't use it. So, roadblock number one. That's the first roadblock in this scenario. Roadblock number one. They don't work well with that. Now it's get a birth certificate. Okay, so like normal people, call, do your birth certificate, through, done. Doesn't happen that way anymore. They're so big into identity theft. It's like, you got to produce all this stuff. Right? Social Security card. Okay, check, we got that. Now you need 2 forms of proof of residence. So like, cool, we got a letter from the VA, got our residence on it. No big deal, we'll send that. Now you got to try to find a utility bill. Well, they have no ID, so now they're going to get a utility bill. So we're going back through the same cycle. Finally get all that stuff, and then we send it. They don't like it, so they send it back, and we got to do it again. So roadblock number 2. And when that happens, they get stuck in that mode. And even though you need this done, and you need 6 other things done, because they can't accomplish the first thing, the 6 other things kind of sit on hold. And it's frustrating as hell. It is so frustrating when that roadblock comes up and that stuck on that task comes up. Because remember, veterans are mission oriented. So they didn't complete the mission. We laid out the things they had to do. Sorry, y'all, I thought I turned the ringer off. We laid out the things they had to do, right? We set them all out there. We laid them all out for them. We laid all the stuff out for them and tell them, this is what we're going to do. We need to get this so we can do this, so we can do this. And when they can't get this, they're stuck. They're not moving on to the next thing. And that gets us so frustrated. So being stuck creates a real problem in communicating with our PTSD guy. A real problem in that. And then they go backwards. And then something comes up in their own mind. And so they go backwards, and we're like, whoa, I thought we already accomplished this. And so now you're like way up here, and they've gone way back down here, and you're like, well, we need to get back up here on the same playing field. And they're like, oh, but we got this and this and this. I'm like, we already had dealt with that, but this didn't come out exactly like I thought. And now you're like, you want to pull your hair out. You literally want to pull your hair out. But that is them getting stuck. And there is kind of a reset button. There is these reset buttons that happen. They do happen, and that is finding them a calm, happy place that sometimes they work. You know, sometimes we get all tight about video games. Sometimes video games are their calming place. I know that for Stephanie's husband Mike, running, it's watching a certain movie. Um, those are all things that help get them out of their head. I just wish they didn't stay stuck in it didn't take so long to get out of their head or get unstuck. Y'all, I want a quick unstuck button. I want this like call AAA and say, come tow me out of the right now, thank you. And they hook the tow truck, yank it, and we're on about our business. That does not always happen. It's kind of like Michelle when the radiator went bad. She called the AAA people and realized, oh, I'm sorry, we're out of your service area, but we're not going to call you and tell you. So 3 hours later, when we don't have a record, you can call and find out. And now you're 3 hours into it. That would just drive me nuts. So Michelle says, I wish I would have known about enabling and boundaries in the beginning, as I've learned so much about myself, and that much of my communication issues are just as much myself. That's true. It's very true. Let's talk about enabling and boundaries tomorrow, because I think that is a great topic that we wish we would have known going in. Enabling and boundaries and communication of those things, because we enable the snot out of people. And do you know why we enable? This will go back to being stuck. We enable because we want to move on. How many times, I mean, we do it. We want to get them unstuck. So we enable a lot of times because we don't force the accountability. And I don't mean accountability like you're accountable, but we don't force them. I love that, Sonny. Waiting for you to hear the head pop. It's been weeks. And it happens sometimes. We cannot get them unstuck. They need to do it for themselves. And that is so true. But you need to understand that they do get stuck. And the problem is when we go to unstick them, that sounds terrible. That'll be like our Urban Dictionary word of the thing. I can see this is not going to be good. When we go to unstick them, get them out of that place, we enable them. Okay? We enable them. When we go to get them unstuck, where they have to work through it, we enable them. And that's why we're going to definitely lead to that segue tomorrow on enabling. Because when they are stuck and we try to get them unstuck, I mean, there's one thing to kind of nudge them along, but when we do things for them to get them past that, and I go back to the driver's license issue or the birth certificate issue, I'm like, okay, you need to do this and you need to do that. And when it didn't happen, I started doing it. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not fixing his problem. I'm enabling that problem. He's not doing anything to get unstuck. I'm enabling it because I'm doing it. You can encourage them to be the one to act, but they have to do. And that's, I think, where we all make this huge mistake, is that becomes enabling. Because it's not on our timeline sometimes, it becomes enabling. And we have to find a way to not do that. And that comes from being stuck. There are ways to reset stuck, just like I went and got the man some fried chicken wings, okay? There, and that's okay, but then go to the next thing. Hey, look, I know we're on this, but there's really nothing we can do about it today, or we've done all we can. Can we deal with this? And it's almost like you have to say it's a new mission. So be careful, because if you're, and I'll go back to the chicken. If the chicken place is closed and he's thinking he needs chicken today, and I try to bring up other stuff, it's a continuation of the chicken. But if I say to him, honey, can't do anything about the chicken today. I'm sorry, they are closed. We did not communicate correctly when I said we'll get it on our way home. You didn't know if our way home, you didn't know if our way home was to my mother's or to our house because I didn't communicate that clearly. And that's true, I didn't. I said we'll get it on our way home, which in my brain means on our way to back to Georgia, not on my way to my mom's home, right? So communication, that was kind of on me. But you then you say, we can't fix that today, but we need to address this. Can we address this? And when you do that, you then can move past that stuck. You may not be able to unstick them from where they are. It was just like when I gave Carl the bowls, and I'm telling y'all, it was awful. That trigger, of course, that was an outside trigger, was horrible, and it was just watching him open and close the drawer, and my heart broke for him, but I could not get him out of that place. That was a place only he could get himself out of. And another thing he tells me a lot of times, when I don't pay attention to him, I don't always point it out to him, but I do pay attention. When we sit down to eat together, sorry, I'm not quite in my normal space, so I got to put my coffee a little different. When we sit down to eat together, and we go to say grace, and we have this thing, and we always sit next to each other. We always hold hands. We always tell each other we love them, and we always say grace. But there are times that he will sit there, and he'll kind of like do his head down, and then all of a sudden he kind of shakes his head and moves his body, and then can focus on what we do. For that minute that he is kind of in this zone, he is stuck. And he says, you don't pay attention to me. I do, I just don't always point it out. And I know that at that moment he's stuck for a minute, and you have to kind of let him get out of it, whatever it is. He may be stuck in that moment for just a minute, and he literally does the roll of the shoulders, looks down, and kind of shakes his head, and you can watch him unstick. It's really cool to watch it happen, but that's being aware of being stuck. And yeah, Michelle, I'm with you. I just want it done. Look, I don't care if you're stuck. I'm hungry. Okay, I want to eat now. I'm hungry. I want to get this accomplished. And you can't. Especially, and it's weird because I find that most of the time when I talk to veteran spouses, we are the polar opposite of they are. We are these, I want it done, let's get it done, let's go get it done, let's handle it, let's move on. That's just our personality, is that we're this, let's get it done, let's move on. Okay, so you have an issue with this, let's fix it, move on, done, let's cross this off the list. And I don't think we should have to go back down there. Girl, there are days we got to go back down the past baggage road, and I'm like, we've done addressed this. And then Lamb Chop comes on, and then I didn't realize Lamb Chop has been singing the song that never ends for the last, 8 days, because we're back at what we started with. But that's the being stuck. And so, that is the one thing that, is not on that checkoff list. There is nothing on that checkoff list that says stuck. And it drives me crazy. I have to go through all the reactions that didn't work before and try new reactions to him being stuck. You do. This is, but you know what, Sarah, here's a big thing. It is okay for them to be stuck. Remember, we all have rights. It is okay for him to be stuck. We just don't want him to stay there. And that's what happens. Yes, honey, we are motivated, strong, alpha females, and we make shit happen. And when we get, when Carl's not stuck, he is like freaking amazing. He is strong, he's decisive, he does everything for me before I can even do it. He is just freaking amazing. But when he gets stuck, it's like, and you just want to go, ah. My time, not my bedroom time. I know, y'all. We got to kind of make them clocks meet somewhere in the middle. But there are other things that you can do on the sidelines. Like we have some stuff that we have to address. And only he's going to be able to address it in the end. But you know what? I got all the little stuff out of the way so I can put it all out in front of him and say, this is this, and this is this, and this is this, and this is where we go from here. Because I knew that if I said to him, "Hun, I need you to get this so we can get this, so we can get this, so we can get this," it's too many steps in this mission. We have a mission, but I have to give him, I didn't do it for him, but I got a lot of the background stuff done. So kind of think of it in the mission aspect as your strategic people planning out, hey, this is the theater, this is what we're going to do, these are the buildings that exist, this is this. So kind of think of it as that sometimes. You're laying the groundwork for them to go on. And when you do that, it helps them move past that. Because if they know that your ultimate mission is here and there's 20 steps to get here, they are going to get so stuck on that 20-step run. So, and I know that, Michelle, we've talked about this, and I know that Sonny's veterans gone through this, and we just went through this with Carl, and there's a whole bunch of other ones, when we have to get the different things. Now that we know, and I'm going to put a bunch of stuff out today or tomorrow, y'all, I'm going to try to enjoy the lake one more day before I get to go home. But we have a lot of things that we have to get done, like deers. Everybody needs to update deers. I will put that link on the page today. Deers, make sure your veteran updates his deers. Okay, that's a quick fix. That's a one-time shot. Fix deers, make sure your records are updated. Because you don't want to, all of a sudden, that check going to be there, and it's not. So, those are things that we can do. Things that we've now learned about birth certificates and getting those over multi-state lines and what you have to have. And, there's like, we were all told that, oh, you can go on ID.me. Well, without a valid ID, you can't go on ID.me because they need to show that, and there's different levels of that. So now we know what they accept and what they don't. This is what we had to send. So we're going to kind of put that out there because now it is step related. And if you can gather the steps, as many as you can, and have them for them and say, here's the application. Here's what you need to send. Fill out the application. Now guess where you are. You are so far ahead of the game. So that's kind of how you keep them from getting super stuck. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling. I know. Tomorrow we're going to talk about boundaries and enabling. Enabling especially because we do it as we want them to get unstuck so we can move on. And we don't, that's why we do it. We enable and not hold them accountable so that we can get them unstuck and move on. Anyway, I'm done for today with my little soapbox. 11 o'clock's message will be recorded. It's on faith. You can come back and watch it anytime you want. But it's on being worthy and how we are just worthy enough. And no matter what, God always feels that we're worthy. Yes, girl, the body language when they stuck. There are times I want to stick him with cinder blocks on his feet and to bump them. Can't say that. All right. I'm Stacy, y'all. This has been Walking in My Shoes, and we are loving my veteran. Y'all have a blessed day, and I will talk to y'all at 11. I'll do it, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow.